14.19 is one of the biggest meta-shifting patches of the season, so there will be many new champs that emerge as powerful picks. In today's video, we're going to be providing you guys with 3 champions for every single role that we think will be exceptionally strong carries for solo queue, and break down the reasoning behind it. And did you know mastering your champion will boost your win rate by a massive 9% on average? That's why at SkillCapped we offer Smurf commentaries. Simply select the champion you want to master and get guides from challenger experts teaching you how to play your champion in the exact rank you're stuck in. You're even guaranteed to have all your questions answered by that very same challenger expert. After that, take one of our 5 brand new courses that teach you the secrets to carrying as a top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. It doesn't stop there. We have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, setting, and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, the list goes on. The best part, you can try all of this out completely risk-free. Since if you don't rank up while actively using SkillCapped, you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below right now to get the rank you've always dreamed of. A class of champions that should become much stronger as a whole for 14.19 are tanks. Tanks with strong scaling attributes will be even better, and for that reason, we have Ornn as our first top lane solo carry. With the stats on items dropping for this patch, champion power is now going to be a lot more based on how powerful each champion's kit is, as opposed to whether or not they can abuse the most OP items. For a while now, it's always felt like whichever champs have been meta have been the ones who could abuse the OP items the best. A good example of this was Ahri earlier on in the season when both Malignance and Lichbane were in really broken states. Ahri was able to run both those items, which made her very strong in meta. Now, going back to Ornn, he's really not reliant on one specific item spike to be impactful, as the champ has one of the best team fighting kits in the game and also has innate scaling built into his kit. With items becoming weaker, it means that snowballing will drop. Games are going to be lasting longer, which in turn allows for Ornn to be higher level and provide his team with more item upgrades. Ornn has already been one of the higher win rate top lane champs in previous patches, so we only expect him to get even better for 14.19. One matchup that you will want to avoid when picking Ornn is Fiora, as her true damage and mobility are difficult for Ornn to play around. The build that you can look to run on Ornn consists of a Sunfire Rush into Thornmail second, and it's pretty situational from then on out. Grasp is the keystone rune with Demolish, Second Wind, and Overgrowth, while Freeboots and Biscuits are for secondaries. Champions who are less reliant on OP items and whose strength comes more from their kit will be looking really nice in 14.19, and Darius is one top lane champ we are quite optimistic about. Champs that can deal true damage should also be of higher priority, because what Riot's doing to a lot of tank items is that they are reducing the health on them but increasing armor. For example, Thornmail is losing 200 health but it's gaining 10 armor, so someone like Darius who can deal true damage is loving this because he can just eat through that armor while the enemy is just flat out easier to kill due to having less health. So especially if tanks do make a comeback for this patch, Darius is going to be one of the better answers to them. Luckily for Darius right now, there aren't very many ranged tops in meta, with Teemo, Quinn, Vayne, and Kennen being played very little. One melee matchup that is giving Darius some more issues right now is Volibear, so he's a good ban to consider. The core build that works great for Darius right now consists of a Stridebreaker Rush into Steric's Gauge second and Deadman's Plate third. For Rune Page, look to grab Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Nimbus Cloak and Celerity are for secondaries. From what we saw in the PvE, Nimbus Cloak was in line for buffs for this patch, so if they've gone through to live servers, this is a nice indirect buff to Darius as well. Since games are going to be lasting longer for this patch, champs who have strong scaling power will get indirectly better, and we're really high on Fiora as a result. Not only does Fiora scale very well, but the main reason she scales well is due to having percent health true damage, which is going to become even more valuable against tanks this patch due to items like Frozen Heart and Thornmail actually gaining armor. The heal that Fiora gets from her passive also scales based on her level, so the longer games last, the more value she gets from that. Now, one tank matchup that can be a bit more difficult to play into is Malphite due to his attack speed slow, so he's a good ban to consider. The build for Fiora revolves around a Ravenous Hydra Rush into Trinity Force second and Hullbreaker third. Conqueror is the keystone rune with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Last Stand, followed by Demolish and Bone Plating for secondaries. With games becoming less snowbally, one jungler who has already been pretty strong as of late who will get much better for this patch is Shyvana. Games slowing down are great for Shyvana because she needs her levels in order to be productive. The base damage from Shyvana E in Dragon form scales based on her level and not the number of points she has in it, so these types of champs who have level scaling will get indirectly better for 14.19. The more dragons that Shyvana is able to take, the tankier that she becomes, so it's another factor in Shyvana liking those longer games. Ban-wise for Shyvana, with how powerful he is in the current meta, you really can't go wrong with getting rid of a Mumu. For the build, it's a Spear of Shojin Rush into Liandry's second and Riftmaker third. The best rune page consists of Fleet Footwork with Triumph, Haste, and Cutdown, followed by Cashback and Jack of all Trades for second. secondaries. Back in the top 3 for jungle for another patch is going to be Amumu. There should be no reason for Amumu's relative strength to drop this patch, as a less snowbally game should in theory favor him. Amumu is one of the best teamfight junglers that you can play, so games lasting longer and eventually being decided by that one big teamfight does favor Amumu. Champs who can deal a good amount of consistent DPS should also see a rise in strength just due to less burst potential in the game, and Amumu has that with his W and E. Champs that are more reliant on taking out a target in one rotation of spells and then having to wait a long time for their cooldowns to come back up should be suffering more. A good ban to consider when playing Amumu right now is Lulu, as her priority is shot up quite a bit due to her recent buff, and it's more difficult to dive into fights as Amumu with a Lulu on the enemy team. The core build for Amumu is a Liandry's Rush into Sunfire Aegis 2nd and Abyssal Mask 3rd. Grab Conqueror for the Keystone Rune, followed by Triumph, Haste, and Last Stand. Best secondaries are Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter. And to round out the top 3 for jungle for 14.19, we have Udyr. Going back on the point we made when covering Amumu, someone like Udyr, who can be a very strong, consistent threat in a skirmish, should be loving this patch. So many items are just losing damage, so champs who are more reliant on bursting won't be as powerful. Udyr, on the other hand, can deal a load of consistent DPS, so he should be thriving. Udyr is actually going to become even tankier for this patch as well, because Riot's increasing the health and armor on Deadman's plate. Movement speed is dropping on Deadman's to compensate, but in an extended skirmish, Udyr is going to be way more difficult to take down now. Even the new Sleeper OP build that we covered in our 14.18 OP builds video, consisting of Unending Despair and Spirit Visage, should get much stronger as well. You kind of need all 3 items in that build in order for them to synergize and really come together, so with longer games, this build should get stronger. Best rune page for Udyr consists of Conqueror with Triumph, Haste, and Last Stand, while Free Boots and Approach Velocity are for secondaries. So moving on to mid lane now, scaling mids are going to be higher priority for this patch, and Aurelion Sol is one of the best. Aurelion is a very unique champ because he scales very well with time. The more passive stacks you're able to acquire with Aurelion Sol, the stronger he becomes, so he's not as tied to item strength as many other champs. If games go past 30 minutes with Aurelion Sol, then it really doesn't matter if his items are OP or not, as he gains so much strength from his kit. Since there is less damage in the game now, a champ like Aurelion who can deal lots of consistent DPS should thrive way more as well. Melee mids with lots of mobility are who Aurelion Sol can have a more difficult time dealing with, so with Yone in meta right now, he's a good ban. The build for Aurelion Sol consists of Rylai's into Liandry's 2nd and Archangel's 3rd. Comet is the optimal Keystone Rune with Mana Flow, Absolute Focus, and Scorch, followed by Bone Plating and Overgrowth for secondaries. A mid lane champ who has already been on the rise as of late, who gets even better for this patch, is Syndra. Getting to 120 splinters is key to reaching your maximum power on Syndra, and with snowballing becoming less powerful, reaching those 120 stacks will be way more consistent. Syndra is also quite unique in the sense that she can burst very well, but does have reliable, consistent damage threat too. This will bode quite well for 14.19, as playing a mage like Syndra who can provide value throughout a more extended fight will be great. At the same time though, the 2 core items that Syndra has been running in 14.18 are not losing any damage in 14.19, so even though many other champs won't have as strong burst strength, Syndra should be pretty much the same. So many fighter items are losing up to 10 AD, and many ADC items are losing 5 to 10 AD, so with Syndra's core of Ludens and Storm Surge losing no damage at all, she's looking to take over the meta. The value of First Strike will be higher for this patch too, because games will be lasting longer, so there's another positive for Syndra. With Biscuits getting changed though, it's likely you'll look to run Triple Tonic as an alternative moving forward. And for our 3rd solo carry mid of the patch, we have Galio. We expect for Galio to gain a lot of relative power for this patch because of the fact he is a tank, and with less damage in the game, he's just going to be more difficult to take down. The ADC meta is also very likely going to feature Jinx and Kai'Sa as 2 of the highest priority champs, and picking Galio to protect those carries in the mid to late game sets you up with an incredible team fight. Galio has already been one of the highest win rate mid laners over the past couple of patches, so we are pretty confident he's going to remain up there in 14.19. The core build that works great for Galio is a Hollow Radiance Rush into Riftmaker's 2nd and Zanya's 3rd. Galios love playing into all of the melee mids in meta, but does struggle more into longer range champs or champs with strong mobility, so Hui or Ahri are 2 good bans. Standard rune page for Galio consists of Aftershock with Shield Bash, Bone Plating, and Overgrowth, while Nimbus Cloak and Transcendence are for secondaries. An ADC who has not been in meta for quite some time that we think will make a really nice comeback for 14.19 is Kog'Maw. With items providing less damage now, playing someone like Kog'Maw who has built-in % health damage in his kit is going to feel a lot better. % health damage is also going to scale better the longer games last, so that's big for Kog since snowballing won't be as easy now. We have also seen a shift in the support meta for solo queue as of late, with melee supports like Leona losing quite a bit of strength, while an enchanter like Lulu has been on the rise. This shift directly benefits Kog'Maw, as he fares way better with enchanters than with melee supports. You can never go wrong with using your ban on a meta dive champ, champ when picking Cog, as his lack of mobility is his one big weakness. So right now, with how the meta is aligned, either Jarvan or Zed are good bans. The core build for Kog'Maw consists of a Blade of the Ruined King Rush into Rage Blade 2nd and Hurricane 3rd. Another factor that could give Cog even more power for this patch is the return of Lethal Tempo. Until we actually see the rune on live servers, it's hard to say whether or not it will be of higher priority than Press the Attack, but it will now be an option again for the champ. Another ADC who scales quite well and has percent health damage in her kit, which should give her more strength for 14.19, is Kai'Sa. It's Kai'Sa's passive where the percent health damage comes from, as she deals 15% of the enemy's missing health on every proc. Kai'Sa has already been one of the best ADCs in recent patches, and the game slowing down a bit will be great for her. The early game has always been Kai'Sa's bigger weak point, so less power on items will allow the champ to more consistently level up and scale into her mid to late game form. And to get the most out of Kai'Sa in 14.19, we have a new Master in Minutes course for her that has been released on our website that covers all the ins and outs of the champ. Ban-wise for Kai'Sa, any ADC with stronger early game threat is never a bad choice, so Draven is a good option. The standard core build for Kai'Sa consists of a Static Shiv Rush into Rage Blade 2nd and Nashor's Tooth 3rd. Just like Kog'Maw, Kai'Sa is another ADC who may look to swap back to running Lethal Tempo with the rune being reintroduced. PTA has been her most optimal keystone over the past few patches, so we'll have to see if that changes throughout 14.19. And to round out the top 3 for ADC in 14.19, we have Jinx. The buff from 14.18 has been great for Jinx and has allowed her to slide past a bunch of ADCs in priority. We'll have to see if lethality remains the most optimal build for Jinx this patch, because with less power on items, games will be lasting longer, which in theory does make lethality a bit weaker. Lethality is really nice to snowball the early to mid game, but if your snowball strength is not as high as before, then going back to crit could be the better option. Opportunity is actually losing quite a bit of strength, with its AD down by 5 and lethality dropping by 3, while the Collector is also losing 2 lethality and will be 200 gold more expensive. Crit really hasn't been bad in recent patches either, it's just that lethality has come in and taken over as the flavor of the month setup. So if you're looking to play Jinx for this patch, definitely keep an eye on the stats for builds. And if you really want to take your Jinx to the next level, our brand new Master in Minutes course is out on our website that covers everything you need to know about Jinx. Jinx is yet another ADC who could go back to taking Lethal Tempo as well, so there's potentially a lot that could be changing in regards to Jinx's optimal setup for this patch. For your ban when playing Jinx, a meta dive champ like Jarvan or Zed are 2 good options right now. So moving on to support, one melee support who's going to remain an extremely powerful option for 14.19 is Poppy. With many of the item changes, Riot is just flat out nerfing a ton of them, but they are taking a different approach with Deadman's Plate, which should favor Poppy. Deadman's is not getting flat out nerfed, and instead, power is being shifted around. The item is actually becoming tankier with health and armor going up, however the movement speed is what's being nerfed. So with less damage in the game now and with Deadman's Plate becoming more durable, it's going to be that much harder to actually kill Poppy in 14.19. The core build that works best for Poppy consists of a Deadman's Rush into Locket 2nd, while Bloodsong is the item upgrade. Hail of Blades is the keystone rune with Sudden Impact, Zombie Ward, and Relentless Hunter, followed by Hex Flash and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. As if Senna wasn't already powerful enough, 14.19 is going to provide her with even more strength. As a more squishy support, less access to damage for other champions is great for Senna, as she won't get bursted out as quickly. Games are also going to be lasting longer, which is perfect for Senna, as a longer game just means more damage for her, as she's able to collect more souls. So overall, we're expecting for Senna to be the #1 priority support of the patch. You have a few really good options for the build on Senna, as Echoes of Helia and Moonstone is always quite good, while Black Cleaver Rush is more underrated. Black Cleaver should actually get even more valuable for this patch, because we're seeing tank items like Frozen Heart and Thornmail actually gain armor. Black Cleaver also just feels really nice for Senna, because that added durability allows her to survive through burst much more frequently. You also look to take Grasp for the keystone rune when running the Cleaver build, and Grasp in general should get stronger for this patch due to games lasting longer and Grasp having the stacking element. Best bans for Senna with how the current meta is aligned are Jarvan and Zed, as they are 2 heavy dive champs that are being played the most in meta. And for our final solo carry support of 14.19, picking up a scaling enchanter like Sona is going to be of great value. Sona is one of those supports who just gets infinitely stronger the longer games last, so with game time going up for this patch, she'll be loving it. The more haste that Sona can stack, the lower cooldown her W drops to, and the better her extended fight becomes. A support like Sona who has strong extended fight strength should be thriving this patch because of the lesser amount of burst potential. Sona paired up with a meta ADC like Jinx or Kai'Sa and the game going over 30 minutes is going to be as close to a guaranteed win that you can get. For Sona's build, don't be sleeping on Bloodsong as the item upgrade. Bloodsong heavily outperforms outperforms Dream Maker for solo queue, and for good reason, as it provides you with a little more solo carry strength and the ability to provide better follow-up damage. Echoes of Helia and Moonstone are generally the best 2 core items for Sona. Ban-wise for Sona, Pyke is a pretty good option right now, with him being strong in meta and that being a more volatile matchup for Sona. As for the rune page, look to pick up Airy, followed by Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Gathering Storm, while Conditioning and Revitalize are for secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So there you have it everyone, 3 champs for every single role that are extremely powerful for patch 14.19. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.